All right, welcome back to the Pleb Underground. I am your host, Coin Icarus. I'm starting to get used to that little song at the beginning. Of course, we're gonna get some new music, some new audio, some new video for the intro. But in the meantime, today's topic: Ross's 300 Bitcoin donation. Right, like as if the Bitcoin conference wasn't enough, and Ross obviously coming on stage and obviously thanking the Bitcoin community and whatnot for helping to get him out of jail. Essentially, right. The new topic after that was, hey, all of a sudden this guy's got 300 Bitcoin donation. Seems interesting, and of course the rumors fly around, and we're going to take a look at some of those rumors, and we're also going to take a look at people that I believe that do good research into this, right? Like people like ZachXBT and what they have to say about Ross's Bitcoin here. But before we do, let's get the live chat up. Hello, Bunny. How you doing? Thank you for joining us. Thanks everybody for joining us. All right, let's dive into it. Hey, Bullish, he's in the chat. There you go. All right. I don't know why I'm showing it when it already pops up on the screen. Okay. All right. Stop wasting everyone's time, Phil. Here we go. Today. Well, not today. Yesterday. Ross Ulbricht, founder of the Silk Road Marketplace, received 300 Bitcoin in his donation wallet. And of course, one of the first things you heard, that's not a donation. He gave it to himself, right? Like that's the first thing, right? Like I want to believe that too, because I think it sounds convenient. The other piece to it is that, when he was running Silk Road, I think he'd have a lot more than 300 Bitcoin at this point. But anyways, I digress. Let's continue on. So for the people who don't know, right, Ross was arrested on October 1st, 2013 in San Francisco, right, for being he was known as the dreaded Pirate Roberts. Anyways, or DRP or DPR, sorry, DPR, Dread Pirate Roberts. Anyways, and of course, right, the whole thing was that it had nothing to even do with the fact that people were buying quote unquote illicit drugs on the internet or anything like that. It was much more to have to do with the fact that he had opened up a completely open, decentralized marketplace where any participant can take place and essentially sell anything at all. And of course, this, in my eyes, stands in the way of the kind of the legacy system, which is very much fenced in and moated. So, all right, the 300 BTC. Let's dive into it. I think the best place to start is definitely ZachXBT. If you are not following ZachXBT, and I know Zach is a quote unquote shitcoiner, but in all fairness, right? I don't really care if somebody's a shitcoiner or a Bitcoiner. If they are doing good work and they're doing proper analysis and deep research, like Zach has a really, in my eyes, a really stellar track record when it comes to digging this stuff up. So here we go. Interesting. The 300 BTC appears to have come from Jambler outputs. Now, before we continue, have any of you guys actually ever heard of Jambler? In all fairness, I have never heard of Jambler before this particular post. And I understand that, maybe older Bitcoiners would have heard about it, but I can't disagree with Zach that it is kind of sketchy, right? I mean, this thing, let's go take a look at it, right? So, oh, sorry, wrong one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Jambler, right? Let's take a look at Jambler. Incorporated in 2012. Right? And then they didn't start their mixing as a service until 2018. Now, of course, right, like that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but none of us have ever heard of this thing. And all of a sudden, that's where this money originated from. I don't know. It's kind of weird. So who was Jambler started by? Well, according to Grock and all of Grock's sources, there is this John Charles Joseph Ambler, who in 2012 was appointed the director of Jambler. And then in 2020, it seemingly somebody from his family, I'm assuming, just because they share the same last name, right? Stephanie Carolyn Ambler, then became the director of this Jambler mixing service. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's just kind of weird, right? This service that nobody uses, that nobody cares about. And I actually dove into the website, right? And here, let's pull up their website to show it to you guys. Kind of interesting. The website is really bare bones, and so what they claim, right? Once upon a time, I went and started digging into. Yeah, see, oh, Norwal. Okay, so you either, right? You never heard of Jambler either, which makes me question how they could have enough be. Okay, so it's interesting that you say this, Narwhal, because as I was going through this story, I'm thinking to myself, what if that 300 BTC from, and I know 300 Bitcoin is not a lot if we go back to those times, but what if those 300 BTC had been sitting there the entire time, just constantly being reused in mixes, right? Like it's almost like that 300 Bitcoin seeded that that market. I don't know. Anyways, that's my supposition, right? Like I don't have any evidence for it, but I do find it very curious. I definitely find it curious. So moving on, right? According to Sani, for the people who don't follow Sani XP, you definitely want to follow him if you're interested at all in chain analysis or chainalysis, however you want to pronounce it. So here we go. According to him, the 300. I keep wanting to mix between saying Bitcoin and BTC. I'll just say Bitcoin. The 300 Bitcoin donation sent to Ross was sent to Kraken, possibly sold or cleaning its trace and sending it to a new address. Now, I mean, all that we know is that it went to Kraken. That's what we do know. We don't know that it has left Kraken. So here's what we do know. We know that the funds originated from Jambler. We know that the funds from Jambler moved to Ross's wallet, okay? And then we know that the funds moved from Ross's wallet to Kraken, okay? That's what we know. This poor guy who's been in jail for 10 years, and all we're doing is speculating on his Bitcoin, but I'm going to talk about this at the end. Okay, so here we go. The latest update from Zach, and this, in my eyes, helps at least lend credibility to the fact that it is not a donation to himself. Nonetheless, right? There's your side, my side, and the truth. So here we go. Zach's update. Few entities regularly use Jambler in size. So I found a potential demix for the donation. One MP5H originates from a late 2014 exchange activity. One CNDW has 2019 exchange activity and was previously flagged in compliance tools. Okay, so one MP5HH and one CNDW were deposited in size to Jambler at similar times as the 300 Bitcoin Ross donor received from Jambler. Both had dormant BTC from 2019 until the mixer deposits made from April to May 2025. And those are the two addresses. Zach's TLDR likely doesn't appear to be a self-donation as people were claiming, though it comes from questionable source due to the flagged address. Okay. And I mean, look, I can't really disagree with that necessarily. And I just want to point out here this last piece. So according to Jameson Lopp, who I have my own opinions about, not him personally, but just the the flip-flopping back and forth and the shitcoin support and all that good stuff. But anyways, so he's saying, you just don't understand how indebted some OGs feel to Ross. Okay, so let's go and take a look here. Where is it? All right, last piece here, the Grock Theories, right? You got to love the Grock Theories. So the other possibilities include an external donor, given priority community support for Ulbricht, such as Kraken's $111,000. Now, keep in mind, $111,000 and $270,000 is a far cry from $30 million. Okay, so I'm not even going to pretend that an exchange is donating $30 million or 300 Bitcoin to Ross, but I do have this theory, right? That essentially he seeded that himself, but it looks like it's coming from somebody else because of Jambler. So it's not far-fetched, right? Even though it's two different addresses, it's not far-fetched that this isn't some very close friend or confidant of Ross that did this, right? It's not far-fetched at all. But look, I think the grand takeaway is this, right? This guy's been in jail for 10 years. For those of us who have never been incarcerated, we can pretend that we understand, what this guy went through and all of that stuff. There's not a chance for a second I would want to be in this guy's shoes. I don't care how much Bitcoin he got. Sorry. I just, it's everybody has their line, right? Everybody's got their line. But yeah, I don't care how much Bitcoin he got. And it wasn't like a direct trade or something like that. It wasn't like, Ross, you give us 10 years, we'll give you 300 Bitcoin. None of that shit happened, right? He was, in his mind, he was going to be stuck in jail till he dies. Okay. And, through politics and, the grace of events that worked out, this guy got to walk out of jail and now is hopefully going to get to go and enjoy his life. And on that note, right, I'm covering this story because I'm obviously curious, who donated 300 Bitcoin to Ross. But at the same time, I don't care what this guy does with it, right? Like, I just want him to go and live your life, man. Like I see that there's a lot of attention being brought up around him, right? Somebody paid like millions of dollars for his ID. Like, other people are buying his shoes, and at some point people are going to start buying his floss. Look, I get the hero worship, right? Like I get it. Okay. Silk Road was one of the, if I'm not mistaken, the first market to use Bitcoin. So in terms of its symbology, in terms of its lore, it's all very important. But at the same time, I think we just need to give this guy a break. Right? Me included, right? Give this guy a break. Let him live his life. And, I can say that I do look forward to seeing what he's going to do. However, he did mention DeFi and Web3 and all of this stuff while he was on stage at the Bitcoin conference. The only thing I can say to that point is that he was incarcerated before the shitcoining really became shitcoining. So I'm not making excuses for Ross. I'm just saying he's not fully aware of this stuff. Like, we need to let this guy catch up. Okay. He's been incarcerated for 10 years. Again, if you haven't been incarcerated, I don't think we understand what happens to time and space in that place. Okay. It kind of, anyways. Yeah. So let's give this guy a break, a little bit, give him a break, let him breathe, let him go live his life. Yeah, guys, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Nothing too huge, but it's pretty crazy times, right? It's absolutely crazy times. I was not expecting to see that happen over the weekend, and all of a sudden, right, all the news just totally shifted away from the Bitcoin conference to boom, Ross's donation. Who gave it to him? Who sent it to him? Why? Yeah, it's funny. Extemos is right. Maybe he needs to go through his shitcoin phase. I mean, look, again, in all fairness, he did shill NFTs. And I'm not blaming him for that, right? Like, said this before, everybody's got to eat. Everybody's going to make their choices. I'm not necessarily going to blame somebody for those choices. At the same time, though, we do have to be objective about it. And we have to say, hey, this was shilled. This was a novelty. This actually had no value. And he did it, for whatever reasons he did. That's all. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for us for today. So don't forget, drop us a like, subscribe. If you find value in the show, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. And of course, as you know, every single one of these episodes gets uploaded to fountain.fm. So if you decide you want to stream us sats for this content, check us out on fountain.fm. Of course, the content is always as well on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Guys, I will catch you all tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace.